Is there anything more hidden than the sex trade? Sure, our laws keep it that way, but maybe more so it's our morals that push sex work into the shadows. So we only hear about sex workers when things go bad, when they're attacked or killed. And that happens a lot. Hundreds have been murdered in the last 25 years. Here's an uncomfortable question. Do our morals put sex workers at risk? That's what we want to find out.
We can't afford to lose more lives. We can't afford this kind of violence.
You can have sex, you can have money, but you can't combine the two because people get hurt.
Sex with a sex worker, a good sex worker, it's kind of wow.
I'm an independent worker. I paid to have a website made. I track my Google Analytics to see where my hits are coming from.
This is Maggie's in Toronto. It's kind of a drop-in center / union hall for sex workers. They come here to talk about the struggles of their work. And listening in, it strikes me that many of their problems come from the way people judge them. And that's why some of the women don't want us to know who they are.
The most infuriating thing when people will use this sort of argument about, well, you might think your work is okay, but in years you're going to regret it, or you're being taken advantage of and you don't know any better. It is the most sexist, condescending sort of thing to hear.
One of the main issues with the stigma that I've found is that, it really contributes to the violence that sex workers face in general. And many people don't want to report because of the stigma and because of the shaming that often comes from police forces. And
Paige explains what happens when the police raid her massage parlor.
7 of them, and they usually come in and they fling open the doors to all of the session rooms. They act very dad-like. They come in and they usually say, put your clothes on. What are you doing here? Yeah. They always ask that question like, well, what did you used to want to do? And that's what an offensive question that is, as though this is some terrible path that I've gone down,
Society might not like them, but here's the thing. They're proud of what they do. They don't want to hide. They feel they have to.
I'd love to see a system where my work isn't criminalized, where we can, work openly and safely and be respected, be able to put, I'm an independent businesswoman on a resume. We want our work to be seen as valued. It's work.
As a job.
It's a job.
Around this table, the solution to the violence of the sex trade is simple. End the stigma, move it into the open. But there could be nothing worse for former sex worker Trisha Bapti.
She may feel like she has been empowered. She may feel like she's making a lot of money. But I think one of the things with prostitution is you don't understand the personal costs until you've actually been out of it for a while.
Vancouver's downtown east side. This sidewalk is one of the spots where prostitutes work. And for years, Trisha Bapti was one of them. She grew up in the suburbs, but when her parents split, she couldn't handle it. Trisha got into drugs. By 13, she was working around here.
What's it like to be back here today?
It's empowering that I can embrace this part as not this shameful side of me. It's also a little bit hard. You just think about the girls that you lost, and there's a lot of loss that goes on with down here as well. So it's a little of both.
It's been haunting in a way.
Yeah.
When she says loss, Trisha means murder. It was down here that the serial killer Robert Pickton preyed on sex workers and nobody paid much attention. Trisha tells me the sex trade is all about violence.
I'll never forget I got raped one night at work, and I kind of rolled out of the car in front of my girlfriend, and we went for Chinese food because that's what you do. You're not going to go to the police. They're not going to do anything anyways. So we went and had Chinese food and a few drinks, and we were back at work within a couple hours. You don't have very long. You have to make your money.
For Trisha, the only way to stop the violence is to stop prostitution. How do you do that? You go after the clients, which in the sex trade are known as Johns.
Men's orgasm shouldn't be able to dictate women's oppression. Like, just because you have more money, just because you can do it, doesn't mean you should do it, or we should allow you to do it. I want prostitution as a system that imprisons women in it to end. I want men to stop thinking they can purchase sex.
So who are the Johns? Well, that's the thing. Nobody really knows. You don't admit you buy sex, right? Especially now that Canada's new prostitution law criminalizes the Johns, and penalties include jail time. But there are a lot of them out there. For instance, let me introduce you to Patrick Clark.
How much do you look forward to your next date?
Like Christmas time, as a kid, it's really important. There's a little bit of magic there, I really look forward to the next date.
The Federal Justice Minister, Peter MacKay, referred to all Johns as perverts. Are you a pervert?
No. A pervert does something against someone else's will. So by definition, I'm not that, because I very much care about the person I'm with.
Patrick has cerebral palsy. So maybe you're thinking, well, you picked the one John who couldn't hurt anyone if he wanted to. That's not reality. Okay, but Patrick has been buying sex since he was 19. He's also the only John we spoke to who'd show his face.
I've had more than one woman go, can you? Yeah, and I usually go, you mean does it work? And I go, yes, it works. And it's and that's when the humanity starts to come out, when they realize that I'm not there to abuse them, and I need them they have to help me get undressed. Because once I'm out of the scooter, I'm in their hands.
Patrick tells me his dates are usually months apart. He isn't a rich man. He repairs computers for a living.
What would happen to you if you couldn't have dates with sex workers?
Probably, I wouldn't want to be alive. It means that much to me, not just because I'm horny, but because of that connection. And I think the minute the humanity goes out of anyone's life, that's pretty much it.
Are you concerned that you could have legal trouble based on this interview?
A little bit. But this just shows how important I think it is. And that's why I'm on camera speaking.
I know what I'm supposed to think about someone who buys sex. After all, some Johns abuse women. But I leave Patrick realizing they're not all the same. John is just another label in the morality of the sex trade. There is a place in North America where Patrick wouldn't be a criminal, where sex workers aren't judged. Welcome to Northern Nevada. Here brothels are out in the open, if by out in the open you mean tucked away in the desert. There are 30 here all in all, and they employ around 500 women. I've come to find out if this is a safer option for sex workers.
That's the sound. I love that sound. That's like cha-ching. That's like a cash register ringing. When a merchant cash register rings, they know they're putting money in. When you hear that sound, that means there's customers coming in the door.
First surprise, Dennis Hoff actually calls himself a pimp. He owns and runs 7 brothels, including this place, the Moonlight Bunny Ranch.
Why do you call yourself a pimp?
When I got into the business, I hate the word pimp because of the connotation. A pimp is a guy in a Cadillac, a bunch of young girls on the street, filling them full of drugs. That's a pimp. And so I fought that. And I guess in the strictest sense of the word, I am a pimp. But I'm a businessman. I'm a partner with these girls. I don't recruit girls. They come to me. I love your new dress.
And Dennis wants to come to us. That is, expand to Canada. In 2013, when the Supreme Court struck down our prostitution law and forced the federal government to come up with a better system, Dennis was paying attention, big time.
I fully intended to open up in Toronto, Montreal, Nova Scotia, and Vancouver.
I think it might alarm some people in Canada that you want to move there, work there.
To those people that said, we don't want him here, we don't want this pimp here, I say to them, excuse me, you've got pimps everywhere. You got pimps, you got criminal organizations everywhere that are taking your young girls, underage girls, and putting them into the prostitution industry. When in legal prostitution, there's no underage girls. The criminals are not invited to the party. A criminal can't get the license that I have. You got the problem. I've got the answer. And Canada needs to look at me and say, we need to get this guy up here. That was good.
Dennis never stopped selling me on his brothel. Case in point, he wants me to think there's a party at the bar.
You got a drink?
Oh, is this the fake drink?
You don't have to advertise it.
But the drinks are fake. Dennis doesn't allow his staff to drink. What is real is that Dennis is the only man who works here, but he's the boss. He's made a fortune, taking 50% of everything the women earn in his brothels.
Taking you down the new hallway.
So are they happy to be here?
There's the computer room again.
Nene Wilson and Chrissy Summers take me for a tour.
So, this place means a lot to me. I paid off my student loans. I went to a really good school. I went to the University of Michigan, which is a hard school to get into, actually. And Nene is actually from Michigan, so she knows about it. So I had a lot of student debt. So I came here to pay off my student loans, and I paid them off in 3 months. The first 8 months, I made $100,000. The first 8 months, that's not even a year. I had more money in my bank account than I'd ever had in my entire life. Pretty proud of that.
It surprises me how blunt Chrissy is when she talks about her job.
I'm not gonna lie, it's definitely an acting job. I mean, do I enjoy like the people I meet? I enjoy getting to know them. Do I necessarily enjoy the sex all the time? I would honestly say no, I don't always enjoy it, but I'll be honest with you, it's definitely an acting job.
What do you mean?
I mean, there might be a guy that you necessarily wouldn't go out on a date with in real life, and they come here, pay you a lot of money, they're like, okay. But in real life, if you wouldn't ever talk to that person in real life, I mean, come on.
You know, a lot of people argue that sex work is a moral issue, that it's actually immoral. What do you think?
I don't think it's immoral. I think I'm helping people, and I think I'm helping myself achieve my life goals. And is it for me forever? Absolutely not. I mean, someday I'd like to get married and have kids. She's a new girl. This is her first time.
New is an understatement. Nene just arrived from Michigan. She's only been at the ranch for 18 hours.
This is her room. As you can see, she's unpacking right now. She literally just got in late last night.
So you work here and live here?
I'm here every 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off.
But while you're working, you're living in the same room, right? 2 weeks on, like shift work.
Right. Nene's seen the doctor. She's been tested for STDs. She can start work in the morning. As part of the license, the women here are tested every week. Safety is part of the business model. Still, I can't help asking the question we might all be wondering.
I mean, some people would say you're being exploited. Is that true?
Not at all. My decision to come here, I was ecstatic. Girls want to come here because they see how you can achieve your dreams and your goals.
So you feel empowered by being
Yes, very much so. Very much so.
Have you worked in the sex trade before?
I have not. I was a housewife. I didn't really do anything. I worked at a liquor store for about a year, but nothing. No, I was never a stripper or anything. I kind of looked at it like I would have sex with people for free that didn't deserve it. So why not get paid for it?
Getting paid for sex. Those are the 4 loaded words I think about as I drive away. I mean, for many of us, prostitute is more of a judgment than a real person. And that's the problem. No matter how we feel about it, sex work isn't likely to disappear anytime soon. It's alive in the shadows. So maybe what we need to do is see the people behind the transaction. That might go a long way to lifting the stigma and keeping women out of danger. Nick Purdon, CBC News, outside Reno, Nevada.